Extreme reactors are pretty much what they say they are. They're reactors, and they are extreme. Now, depending on the setup you're making, these reactors can generate from thousands up to hundreds of thousands of RF per tick. Some find this a little bit overpowered, others really enjoy working with this mod. Just keep in mind that if you want to build one of these, you will need quite a lot of resources. So this is better suited for, I would say, mid-game through end-game. Certain. You'll need a lot of graphite, also a lot of iron. Seems like gold's getting useful. Of course, redstone joins the party. You'll also need uranium, a diamond, and some wood. Now that's done, we'll craft ourselves some reactor casing core, reactor casing, access ports, some kind of power tap. The controller wouldn't be a bad idea. A reactor control rod, and something to put your fuel in. First we need a frame. Oh, and by the way, this can be pretty much any shape. The maximum size for a reactor would be 48 in height, 32 in width, and 32 in length. However, some people claim that it can only be 46 blocks tall. Next you put in the faces, and these things can actually go anywhere in the faces. And finally you make the core, and that consists of a fuel rod and a coolant. Oh, and don't forget to put in the supports and to connect it to your power network. As you can see, there are many different design options. It doesn't always have to be very big. This is the smallest design possible, and you're kind of limited because you have to put these modules, these blocks in this arrangement. Although I think this one could go on the bottom. Let's see. Nope, it doesn't. It can't go on the bottom. So yeah, you're kind of limited with your options, but you can swap these ones out. And oh, by the way, this thing is configurable. That's the same access port as before, but you need to select the outlet mode. Now, if you activate it, you can actually see that this design is kind of viable. It produces a good amount of RF, and it has a lot of storage, but it uses kind of a lot of millibuckets. However, I think it's fine. But if you want to go a little bigger, you can do something like this. And these designs are going to be much more efficient. You can see it consumes this amount of fuel, but it produces a lot more energy. And this will only go up together with the thing. And you can see I used redstone, destabilized redstone as a coolant, but you can use a lot of different things. Here we have a little bit of craziness. On the top you can see we have 5 fuel rods, and you can actually stack fuel rods. But if we turn on the reactor, you can immediately see this is sort of a lot, but it produces a lot of RF. Now, there is something you need to keep in mind, and that's this thing, the fuel reactivity. This has to do with how the fuel rods behave towards each other, but the only thing you need to keep in mind is the more fuel rods you have, the more they will enhance each other and produce more energy for less fuel. Now don't worry, if this sounds all very confusing, I'm going to explain how to build a reactor, and for that we need every one of these blocks. Now, this block, the glass reactor thing, isn't necessary, but it just allows you to see through, which is kind of cool. We're going to start off by building a frame using the reactor casing, and this can be pretty much any dimensions, but it has to be between the dimensions I've said before, but I'm going to use a 5 by 5 by 6. Reason I take this funny shape is because I used it in Feat Beast Infinity and it really suited me well. The bottom also has to be filled with the casing. Next we'll grab the controller, and this thing is the heart of your reactor. You can place it anywhere in between these empty spaces, however not in the middle. So I'm going to place it here. After that we need to install our fuel rod, and this is kind of tricky, but the most common thing to do is just placing it in the middle and then you place a control rod on top. You can also put a rod here and here, even here and here, but it doesn't make much sense. So I'll stick with the one in the middle. Now we have to decide where we place the input for fuel and the output for a waste. And this can also be anywhere inside the frame, not in the middle. So I'll put one here and here, just to prove the point that you can place it anywhere you like. We're almost done, but we do need a power tab, which you can also place anywhere you like, but not in the middle. Now we're almost done, but we do need to complete the entire frame. So you can use the casing for that, but I am going to use the glass. And once you place the final block, you'll see the multi-block is now completed, and this technically will be a functioning reactor. The only issue is that it doesn't have a coolant, which brings me to the next point. There are 3 types of coolant, being destabilized redstone, resonant ender, and gelid cryothium. Yeah, that's the thing. Redstone is the cheapest, but the worst. Resonant ender is decent, but less cheap, and gelid cryothium is a real pain to make, but it is good. The only problem with gelid cryothium is whereas destabilized redstone will just flow down, which counts as real blocks for the coolant. Same with resonant ender, it will just slowly flow down. However, gelid cryothium will make your life a little bit harder because it drops down and then stays down, which means you need to stack it and create a lot of this thing. But we'll go with the resonant ender because let's face it, that just looks really cool. Anyway, make sure to attach some sort of energy storage to your power tab. Then the only thing left to do is fuel this thing, and that's in the inlet, the green thing. You put the uranium in there and it will take it, and then you just need to turn it on by activating the reactor and it will start producing RF for you. But you do need to know how energy cells works. Hehe. And here you can see why I really like this design. It uses over 100 millibuckets per tick, but it produces 2000 RF per tick, which makes this thing go full like really fast. There is one final thing you need to know, and that is this thing. If you press this thing, it will insert a rod insertion, and this will sort of slow down the reactor. You can see it drop down, but it starts working a little bit more efficient. Oh well, I hope this was useful. If it was, please leave a like and consider subscribing to my channel. But that's it for this video. Sir Tandon, at your service.